Welcome to Let's Talk Near Death, the podcast show where we talk about life, death, and experiences somewhere in between. My name is Kirsty Salisbury, the host of the show, and I welcome you to join me as I talk to everyday people with not so everyday experiences. You may also wish to join the conversation on the Let's Talk Near Death Facebook page or access additional VIP content as a premium subscriber via Patreon. For just a couple of dollars a month, you can get an early access to episodes, additional bonus content, and your chance to connect with my guests. To do so, simply visit patreon.com/Kirsty Salisbury. Let's talk near death.
I was in a dark void, and so I had no comprehension what was happening to me. The only reason why I know that I had a near-death experience is because my device collects data, and I was able to go back to my cardiologist, and we looked at it, and he confirmed that, yes, my heart stopped for almost 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. I have a very special guest today, someone who hasn't shared much about their experience. They've done a little bit in writing and they've talked to people one-to-one, but this is one of the first times that she shared her experience on a more open level. And I feel very privileged to be a part of that. I don't take this opportunity very lightly, and I want to really thank her in advance for coming on and sharing her experience with us. So our guest today is Kat Young, and Kat had a near-death experience in 2015 following a cardiac arrest when her heart stopped. Kat, it is so wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and opening up to the world with what happened with you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Can you take us back in time? 2015, you had this cardiac arrest. What was happening in your life beforehand, and how did this near-death experience start to take place?
Well, in 2015, I was still in a lot of emotional pain because I had gone through a really horrible and painful divorce. I left a 27-year marriage in 2012, at the end of 2012. And at the same time, my diagnosis was actually just coming to surface, and I was just starting to learn about it. I was actually misdiagnosed for 30 years, and it was through the learning of my own daughter, who started having similar symptoms at the same age that I was. So all that was coming kind of to the surface.
So were you unwell?
I was not physically, I wasn't unwell, but emotionally I was really suffering. I was heartbroken. I was lost. I didn't really know my direction, even though I had some of awareness, because I had finally gotten the confidence to stand up on my 2 feet and take the first step to take care of myself and dissolve that relationship. But it was painful.
I can imagine. So what was happening for you physically? How did you get a diagnosis?
So in 2013, my daughter was a teenager at the time, and what I have is a rare genetic cardiac condition. Mm-hmm. So it's just in the last 10 years that science and medicine are starting to come together, and they have learned about these rare conditions. It affects the electrical circuitry of my heart. The structure of my heart is very healthy and strong, but my heart doesn't have a very stable electrical current, and I have certain triggers that will just cause my heart to stop suddenly. And so it's under the umbrella of sudden death arrhythmia, or sudden arrhythmia death syndromes.
Oh, wow.
And in 2013, my daughter had a sudden cardiac arrest and ended up in the emergency room in the hands of a really well-educated ER doctor. He's the one who actually pointed us in that direction and got us the diagnosis through genetic testing. And in fact, my 2 daughters and myself have it, and we have had the implantable cardiac defibrillators placed over our hearts so that if our heart does stop, we're being protected. And I received mine 1 month after I left my marriage. So I left my marriage. A month later, I had that heart surgery, received my defibrillator. And then it wasn't until maybe a year later, when I was going through the court proceedings with my ex, that I started having really serious symptoms.
Yeah, wow. Wow, so you had lived your whole life with something which was pretty extreme, quite dangerous, I suppose, and you had no idea your whole life?
No idea that it was my heart. And my doctors didn't even know it was my heart. So I was diagnosed with a seizure disorder for 30 years. They had me on anti-convulsant, which is almost like an anti-rhythmic, and they're thinking that maybe that could have saved me. But I've had multiple times where my heart has probably stopped and did its quiver and naturally reverted itself. So I actually believe in miracles because I'm still here. And and it was through my daughter's later on in life, her symptoms, that uncovered this whole mystery for myself.
Yeah, wow.
So I've had events to where I have been in that dark void and have been aware that I am somewhere, but didn't really know what was happening. And now when I look back at it, I think I've probably had multiple near-death experiences.
Wow, but none where you knew what was happening, so you didn't know that you were dying?
Right, I didn't know because I thought I was having a seizure.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And everyone else thought I was having a seizure. Meanwhile, I'm turning blue, and I've had paramedics called. I've had people do CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, all of that throughout my life on different occasions, and have naturally come to. So my heart, for whatever reason, had not sustained the dangerous rhythm that most people don't survive.
Is that quite terrifying, knowing that at any point your heart could stop?
I've had to go through a journey of coming to grips with that. And sure. I think since my near-death experience, of course, that fear is gone. I don't have that fear.
The fear of it happening or the fear of dying?
The fear of dying.
They're very similar things that we're talking about, but there's just a small little bit of difference within them.
There's actually a big difference, because I don't like those events to happen, and I don't want to die too soon without, I love my life here, and I don't want to go too soon. So there is a little bit of fear, but I'm not afraid of death.
So can you take us through these times? You referred to the void. So can you take us through what's happened a couple of times where you said you had you believe you've had multiple near-death experiences, but didn't necessarily know that that's what they were at the time? So what did you experience in these times?
Those times were just darkness, like a very subtle darkness. And it was almost like I was having a conversation with myself, almost like I don't want to be here. And I would call out the names of my daughters or my husband at the time, because I really believed that maybe my soul knew where I was.
Yeah.
And, I remember the calling out in that dark void.
Did you have any association to your body? Were you aware of your body at those times?
I wasn't. It was just, I was in a dark void. And so I had no comprehension of what was happening to me.
And you've experienced that void area multiple times?
I would say yes.
Yeah, I'm just very, very curious. Was there any kind of remembering the void the second or the third time that you were there? Was there, oh, I'm in this place again, a familiarity of the void?
Yeah, I would say there is and was.
Interesting. Yeah. And anything else? I mean, I know when I talk to a lot of experiences, there's not any type of concept of time or how long you're gone for, or anything like that. Was there any kind of sensations, or were you aware of anything other than calling out to people to potentially help you?
During those moments, it was just the awareness that I was somewhere untouchable, and just the awareness of me calling out to them that something was happening to me, but I didn't know what.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But that I had a completely different experience with my experience in 2015. But the one that I had in 2015, I had while I was sleeping, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I know that it was confirmed that I had a near-death experience is because my device collects data, and I was able to go back to my cardiologist and talk to him about it, and we looked at it, and he confirmed that, yes, my heart stopped for almost 2 minutes.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and I received 3 shocks. So the first 2, my heart did not respond, and it was the third one that actually brought me back.
Wow, I bet you were so grateful for that little piece of
Confirmation.
Yeah.
It was confirmation.
That's amazing. So what was happening, not necessarily within your body, what do you remember of that big experience in 2015?
Okay, this is where I start to feel emotional, and it's really difficult to place words to even articulate what I experienced. I'm not a person who remembers my dreams. I just don't. And so if there are people there that are arguing that it was a dream, this was not a dream to me, because I remember the experience like it happened yesterday. And there was no time. I could not tell you how long I was there, but it seemed like I was there for eternity. And I had awareness that I was not in my body. So I remember coming to that morning, and I was laying in a really funky position where my face was even pressed up against the wall. And I felt like I had pulled a muscle. And, you know, when you get shocked from your defibrillator, I had some really odd sensations coming down my arm. And it probably took me a little while to come to. And as I was coming to, I was all of a sudden remembering, well, what was that? Where was I? I just was like, there was no words to explain where I was. And so what I remember is being out in the cosmos. It was vast and deep and beautiful. I could see colors that I can't really even explain. It's almost like an iridescent rainbow that was super bright in the distance that I was above, and I was watching it and it felt like it was like wrapping around my body and keeping me safe. And I have never experienced such a peace. Like, I was so at peace. I didn't have any memory or feelings of all that emotional pain that I was going through at the time. It was just the most intense love that I can't even explain.
And were you aware of your body in this one?
I didn't see my body, feel my body, but what I was aware of was that I had all my senses. I could see, but I knew that I wasn't in my body. I think I was looking for my body.
Yeah.
But the senses that I had such incredible senses. Like, I don't know how to explain it. My eyesight, it was like I could see all around without turning my head. And I was floating or flying, and I know my body doesn't do that. So for whatever reason, I was above and in vastness without an explanation of how I got there, or there was no sensation in my body. And
Right.
I even had a telepathic conversation with, I call God. I didn't see a face, but I felt it. I felt him, her, the energy of this intense, unconditional love. And there's no English word that explains or can articulate that.
Yeah.
It's like I almost want to start, I feel teary because I want to be able to share that and articulate it for people who maybe want to know about it or actually are having experiences like that. There's our medicine and our science research and our technology has advanced so much. I'm sure there are so many people out there that have these near-death experiences from resuscitation, as I have had, but have no one to explain it to them or help them understand it or integrate it. Because it's not part of our medicine.
Exactly. And this is something we hear quite often, is that I can't explain it, I can't describe, and it makes it almost, what's the word? It's a very hard thing to talk about something that you don't have the words to talk about.
Yeah.
So I can understand how difficult that was. I'd love to hear more about this being, you called them God, this energy that was around you. Did you know straight away who that was? That familiar?
It was familiar, but I didn't really know. It just felt amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up going, what was that? Like, I want to do that again. And that's something you don't say to your family or, someone that is close to you, that you want to have a cardiac arrest and do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
But I woke up saying that and thinking that, like, that was intense. I just want to go there again.
So what was it like when you when you went to your cardiologist and they were able to look at your device and see that for 2 minutes your heart had stopped beating? How did that make you feel?
They had told me that I had the big one. That was how they described it, the big one.
Right.
And that my device did protect me and save me. And just hearing that, I was almost in shock myself. But right away, then I thought, well, if that happened, then what was I experiencing? I couldn't explain it in those moments.
So maybe a sense of validation of what you thought you'd experienced when you woke up and you're like, that was amazing, I want to do that again. What was that?
It was validation, definitely.
Yeah, that must have felt quite good, I'm sure. Yeah. So tell us about your life after then. Did you come back? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Did you come back with any sense of purpose, or did anything change for you after that?
I really feel like God knew that my heart needed some sort of direction or answers, because what it did for me was open up my I guess, my need to understand myself at a deeper level of why I was here in this life, because all of a sudden I'm having to recreate myself after a divorce, and I left everything behind, so I was a little bit lost, thinking that I knew my direction, but not really. So how this really changed was, because I am so intuitive and sensitive to begin with, I think it just helped me embrace those and accept that part of me instead of suppress it or not want to look at it or deal with it because it was so intense and sometimes painful for me. So in a way, it became my avenue to deepen my relationship with my soul and who I am. And I have made sure that one of the things that I work on to learn is to align myself in deep, heartful ways to where I can be of service to people outside in the world. And, you know, I'm still learning, and it's still very difficult to make that integration when, you know, it's even really difficult to articulate what it is I've learned and I've brought with me from that experience.
Yeah. What about spiritual beliefs? Did you have any set spiritual beliefs before this happened? Because you referred to this energy as God, as a supreme sort of being, I suppose. Has anything changed, or did you have set beliefs before this type of experience happened?
Well, I was raised Catholic all my life. I was a part of a very Catholic family, so I had a really solid foundation as far as religion goes. And so I had that going into it. And that may explain why the only terms that I can put onto this immense feeling that I sensed as calling it or him or her God is because of probably my religious upbringing. But if I was to really talk about it now, there are no words. There are no identifying words that explains the spirituality of the experience that my soul had. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's just it's not a religion.
Yep. And again, this is something that I hear quite a lot. It can't be fit into words or boxes or descriptions. It's bigger than that. And that's something that I say as well, is it's bigger than a category or a descriptive way to connect all the dots. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you were to ask me, was it a religious experience? My answer would be no. Was it spiritual? Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And so I think it validates that, yes, my soul had an experience that I'm not ever going to forget or let go of.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any perception or any thoughts around the meaning of life, the purpose of life, why we are here, why some of us have these experiences and others we go through life with nothing?
Well, I think we're all on this earth to learn. And we're here, our purpose is to learn how to love. And so I feel that I must have been at a place to where my soul needed a little more validation from God to help me, because I do have a deep purpose here. And part of my learning is to heal my heart in deeper ways, not just on the physical level, but in very deep ways that I still even struggle with or I'm challenged by today. Just having those insights doesn't mean that it is automatic for me to integrate what I learned from my experience into daily life. I'm still human and I'm still challenged by a lot of those things that we all experience. And so I feel like my purpose is to heal my heart and to help others along the way. There's nothing more that I want for others is to know that connection that they have in their own hearts, in their own beings, that's alive and accessible on this earth, in this life. Because there are times to where I can feel and sense that intense love when I'm either in nature or I'm in front of someone that is so open and pure. I can sense that. And whether it's a split second or, matter of minutes that I'm around them, I can feel that. And I really feel that I'm learning that everybody has that capacity and that ability. And we don't have to have a near-death experience to learn how to love at our best. And I really feel that is the purpose of my life here.
Now, I know you're probably really enjoying this episode, but I wanted to pop in and let you know how you can further support the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. Every little bit of input helps me, it encourages me, and it enables me to be able to bring in more guests, share more episodes, and release more content. If you're financially able, you can pop over and become a VIP subscriber for just a couple of dollars a month. If not, you may want to consider leaving a review on iTunes, sharing an episode with a friend, or connecting over with the Let's Talk Near Death Facebook page. Every little bit of input helps me. Thank you for listening, thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode.
Do you think that everybody has a purpose? I know you mentioned that we're here to learn, but beyond learning how to love and, I guess, our experience here, do you think that we all individually have a set purpose that we should fulfill while we're here?
Definitely. I mean, we're all unique souls with, we're given talents and gifts that are just so unique to each of us. And so I really feel that, we all have a very unique purpose too. Yeah, the driving force may be to learn and evolve as souls, but I also feel that everybody has a very unique way of expressing what their purpose is here.
That's beautiful. I love that. Is there one key thing that stands out from everything you've experienced that has been the biggest learning lesson for you personally?
I would have to say it is knowing that I have that unconditional love and unity consciousness alive and accessible in me, that, it's not on the outside, that we don't have to look a certain way to have a successful, meaningful life.
Yeah.
That the majority of what it is that I'm taking away from this is it's all within me, that I can heal my own heart and be who I am in my most unique way, because I do have a purpose.
How's your health today? Are you okay? Do you have another defibrillator in your chest?
Yep, I still have the defibrillator. Probably will be with me, keeping me here as long as it will let me. Of course, when you have these devices, it's technology, but your body has to be in good condition to receive the administer shocks to do what it's supposed to. So yes, I still have the defibrillator and I'm in good health. I'm not having any arrhythmias that they can see since I had my near-death experience in 2015, but I also have had other cardiac arrests, the last one being just last summer. But I haven't had near-death experiences with everyone.
Yeah.
And the last one that I had was in July of last year. But other than that, I'm healthy.
Oh, that is so fantastic to hear. And your daughter, is she okay?
She right now is going through a really challenging time. She's 25 now. And at the time that she was diagnosed, she was, I think, just turning 16.
Oh, so that's quite young, isn't it?
Yeah. And people with our syndrome, we have, it's called long QT syndrome type 2. It's more prevalent in females where the risk is higher, and usually or typically it's around childbirthing years and menopause years. And she's 25. She's a ripe age of when her body may be feeling that it's ready for, birthing years. And so in the last 6 months, she actually has had 7 cardiac arrests that her device has saved her from. And they are very dangerous right now. So they are talking to her about some really difficult surgeries that may help from stopping these from happening.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? So what's that like for you as a mother who has gone through your own experiences, multiple experiences where your heart's pretty much stopped, and then your big one where your heart stopped for 2 minutes?
We have a very unique and interesting relationship because I know it's not normal, the things that we share and that we talk about. And, we have shared our experiences, and she has had experiences that, she's even reserved in the way she shares it with me, because I think even her being or her soul is still trying to wrap its head around it. She had an out-of-body experience in one of her earlier episodes that she had before she was diagnosed. And she did not really talk about it until just this last year. So we talk about, things about life and dying and what's beyond. And, it's probably not very typical.
Well, no, but I think it's really, really great that you can do that. And I think it must create a very special bond between the two of you, knowing what the experiences are like, and that either of you could have another experience at any point.
Yeah.
And even for your big one, you said that the defibrillator kicked in twice before the third time when it actually worked. So, yeah. Gosh, it must be so interesting to be living a life where you just don't know what's around the corner. I know none of us know what's around the corner. Do you think it gives you a bigger appreciation for life?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was just going to say, I know this sounds really odd, but I appreciate the fact that I've been given this diagnosis, because what it does is it keeps me present. Keeps me present in my life. Whereas if I was to look back at my life that I left, I was not present. I have shifted and grown so much. I'm not the same person that I was. And I know it's from, at nobody's fault, but just the conditioning that life puts on us humans here. Like, I was so conditioned not to be in my heart, not to be aware, not to feel my feelings, not to be in the moment. And so it does give me this appreciation like you wouldn't believe. And I'm sure some people may think that I'm just so intense if I am appreciating them in the moment, because I will not stop without expressing a little bit of that to whomever I'm with.
So do you see this as a little bit of a gift?
Oh yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah, I love this. I'm actually resonating quite a lot with what you're saying, because with my near-death experience, mine was involving my brain, not my heart. And there was a good period of time, probably about 1.5 years after my initial surgery, where I had my near-death experience, where there was no knowing whether I might literally drop dead. There was no knowing what was going to happen with me. And I lived probably a very similar thing to what you've been through, of every day is a gift. Every day you just don't know. And I do say that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was such a gift. It was so beautiful. I don't have that same diagnosis right now, so I've had some beautiful surgeries which have fixed up my problems. But it was just living in this place of every day they're like, you're a walking time bomb. We don't know whether this will all blow again and we would lose you, or we just don't know what will happen. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was a true gift. So I so appreciate what you're saying, Kat, and I so value you coming in to share this. I know it's a really hard one to do, especially so early on. I waited 27 years, so I think you're extremely brave to be sharing your story, sharing your experiences, and there's multiple experiences there. So I'd love to just wrap up by asking you, what is one thing that you would like the audience to know after listening to your story?
Well, I really feel like it's an important conversation that everyone needs to hear, because life is precious and it is a gift to us. And death isn't something that is to be feared. And, you know, we are all here for a purpose, and we are all being supported whether we are aware of that or not. And so if there's one thing that I could encourage anybody out there hearing this, is just to take the steps to become closer with that heartfelt emotion that is part of our humanness. Because it is that energy, that unconditional, intense love that we are all a part of, and we have access to it every day, because we are it.
Wow. Kat Young, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Let's Talk Near Death podcast show. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with your friends, tell people about it. I'd love to get these messages out there. Don't forget, you can also pick up your VIP access pass for additional content at patreon.com/Kirsty Salisbury. You can connect with us via the Let's Talk Near Death Facebook page, and I look forward to catching you for another episode soon.